Welcome back to the living room series of the Center for Spiritual Living, Bellingham. Glad you can join us on this beautiful day. I've been dealing all year with the theme, who do we choose to be? And the month's theme this time is the medicine of truth. And my topic today is good medicine. And I wanted to talk to you about some thoughts and reflections that I've been having. Maybe you have been too. But I wanted to have us harmonize with one another and really support each other in some awarenesses today about what the good medicine of this situation we find ourselves in could be. So the situation I'm referring to is our quarantine, our stay home, stay healthy is what we call it in the state of Washington. But wherever you are, I suspect that like us, you have been asked to limit all but essential travel, to stay home as much as possible, and in doing that, we have disrupted our entire way of living and disrupted our economy and disrupted darn near everything. So what's the good medicine in the situation is the question that I've been asking myself. And for me, it's severalfold. So here's what my thoughts are about it. For me, this is a time that is providing me with an opportunity to observe my own habits and patterns, to make new choices around those, and then to launch into my spiritual knowing and action so that I can actually make the transformation happen rather than just think about it. So let me talk to you a little bit in depth about what I mean by that. You may have noticed that one of the things that could have arisen for you, it certainly did for me, was that in being quarantined and being asked to stay home, a lot of the habitual energies that I was used to doing were no longer accessible. I couldn't do those things anymore. And in not having those habits, I got to take a good sharp look at what they were giving me and what I was missing and things of that sort. So I was reading in The Lion's Roar a piece by a woman named Trudy Goodman, and she says this about habits. The habitual patterns that arise in us seem to have a life of their own, shaping our behavior into contours of isolation, anxiety, self-criticism, addiction, or other self-destructive habits. These patterns make us unhappy. They are obstacles to what we long for in our lives and might even cause us to give up our goals and dreams in despair. The good news is that we can become aware of how we get caught in these patterns and learn to move through experience with more love and wisdom. The process of getting stuck in patterned thoughts and feelings happens quite mechanically. The gateway to freedom is to understand this compassionately. So what Trudy's pointing to is something that we've been studying in the class I've been teaching on Sunday mornings by Joe Dispenza, and his book focused on his book, The Placebo, You Are the Placebo. The truth of the matter is that habits actually are mechanical in nature. The reason for that is that you and I at some point adopted a new idea. Maybe it was you wanted to try smoking, or you wanted to try drinking, or you wanted to try coffee, or some habit that, at the time was like a one and done kind of thing. But for whatever reason, that habit was satisfying something inside enough so that we begin to repeat that. And as we begin to repeat that, what happens is we begin to fire together and wire together our neuronet. And we begin to create a neuronet groove in our minds that over time, the more we practice whatever the habit is, a good habit, a bad habit, a neutral habit, whatever it is, as we practice and practice, we're firing together and wiring together, firing together and wiring together, to the point where now, after a while, it becomes a subconscious program in the neuronet of our mind. And we don't even have to think about it anymore. We just habitually do the things we do. Really, it's more accurate to say they do us. And so they actually kind of take on a life of their own. And those of us who have tried to change a habit are very aware of how we can be working deeply to try to change something, and these habit energies will show up and do us without us even realizing it's happening until midway through the thing. So how do we change these things, and how do we use this time of quarantine, staying home, this time of having the opportunity to really, really examine our habitual ways and make some new choices? How do we do that? Well, I turn to my favorite person on this topic, Pema Chodron. Pema Chodron is a Tibetan Buddhist nun. She's an American. She's an incredible teacher. And in one of her books, Take the Leap, she shares with us a little bit about habituated thinking and what to do. She says, when we begin to see clearly what we do, how we get hooked and swept away by old habits, our usual tendency is to use that as a reason to get discouraged, a reason to feel really bad about ourselves. But instead, we could realize how remarkable it is that we actually have the capacity to see ourselves honestly. And that doing takes some courage. It is moving in the direction of seeing our life as a teacher rather than a burden. I wonder how you've been holding this time apart from the usual flow of life. Have you been seeing it as a teacher or as a burden? Don't know. I think I've done both. Fundamentally, this means that learning to stay present, learning to stay with a sense of humor, learning to stay with the awareness of our habituated patterns, with loving kindness toward ourselves and with the outer situation, learning to take joy is the magic ingredient of honest self-reflection. Trungpa Rinpoche called this making friends with ourselves. So it's true that for a lot of Westerners, especially, when we allow ourselves to examine how we've been doing things and what we've been doing in this time of pause, we could actually feel bad about ourselves because we've maybe had the thought over and over again that we wanted to change something and yet weren't doing that, and so we could really get down on ourselves. But Pema is suggesting a different way, a way that utilizes loving kindness with awareness coupled together to view the habitual patterns with this sense of being friendly with ourselves, noticing them, but not using them as a bashing tool for ourselves, but rather just as a place of awakening, opening, waking up to what's before us, what it is that our habitual patterns have been doing. And then being able to make new choices. And I wanted to read you that famous poem by Rumi. You've heard me read probably more than once, called The Guest House, to talk about making new choices. So this is what the Persian poet Rumi says. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be cleaning you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So the guest house points to what it takes to open to new choices. And what it takes is being willing to be present, fully present with what is right now. And in this time of quarantine, I imagine, like me, you've experienced yourself moving from one thing after another to another to another. You've witnessed yourself maybe waking up with sorrow, moving into busyness, moving into joy, moving into depression, moving into boredom. I don't know what you go through, but you know, it's like these cycles of and waves of visitors. And all of them are meant to be just something we're present to and watching and learning from, because they're guides to our inner realm. They're guides to what we have to work with in order to make some new choices and changes. You know, one of the things that I notice is that I notice something that Marianne Williamson used to talk about in one of her books. She used to say, you know, for a lot of us, we have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake when we're making new choices. So we want to go, we want to make that choice, but we have this brake thing that goes, and so we're just stuck, not going anywhere at all, making the choice, but then that habitual response shows up and we break ourselves. Lisa Rankin, one of my favorite integrative medicine doctors, says that she asks a question: what price are you paying when you systematically betray your truth day after day after day? And what does she mean by that? Well, she means that if you're like me, you've been saying you wanted to make changes for a while. You've been saying, oh, I don't like it this way, I don't like it this way, I don't like it this way. But I haven't really done the strong steps necessary to make it shift. I've been allowing the habitual default life to just flow on with commentary from my inner realm going, but this isn't how I want it to be. So what do we do? Well, for me, this is actually an exciting time, because it's a time set aside where we can actually see the spiritual tools we've cultivated to this point in action. So what are those tools? Well, the most wonderful tool we've been given is the tool of what we focus on, we become. It's double-edged, because if we focus on negativity, we become negative. But at the same time, we can use that tool of focus to begin to work in the inner realm rather than looking at the outer realm. We work on the inner level of our being to ask ourselves the fundamental questions about, well, what do I want? It's fine for the commentary to say what I don't want, but that's not going to change a thing. What do I want? And as we focus on that and we allow ourselves to become crystal clear about what that might be, then what we have the opportunity to do is, working on that inner realm, we can begin to visualize, we can mentally rehearse what it would be like to actually live in the reality where the change has already occurred. We literally let go of any sense that it's in the future, and we act as if it is happening in our inner realm right now. And what would that look like, and what would that feel like, and what would that be like for us? And as we contemplate this over and over and over again, it's not a one and done kind of thing. The other thing we know to do is we know to add elevated emotion. What's an elevated emotion? Things like gratitude, joy, happiness, satisfaction, peace, compassion, loving kindness. We elevate the feeling tone of that new reality that we're creating in the inner realm of our being. We elevate the feeling of what it would be like and marry it to the thoughts we're having about that future that's now. And little by little, we begin to create a reality that's bigger on the inside than the reality that's happening on the outside. And as soon as the inner reality is greater than the outer experience, we've created a new experience, and our body, mind, and spirit begin to align with that new future, and we begin to experience the new future at every level of our being as a real thing happening now. That's part of our spiritual toolkit that we have available all the time. For me, the tricky part is the focus in this time of quarantine. For me, I've noticed that it's easy to go out of focus and to just do lots of little things that are distracting. They're distractions from the guest house of being. And so if I become uncomfortable with the thought I'm having, if I begin to experience a feeling that I don't like very well, I can just use all kinds of things to distract myself rather than to snap into the present moment and really come to full awareness in the moment of what the discomfort might be about. And in that way, bringing myself to information that the guest house, the guide from beyond, is seeking to bring me. So in our daily life, one of the instructions spiritually is to spend time practicing this kind of elevated focus at least twice a day. Because the truth of the matter is we wake up, we fall back asleep. We wake up, we fall back asleep to our own nature. So deliberately, consciously, we're encouraged spiritually twice a day to really come fully awake to what is, to the present moment, to use the tool of focus to focus on the inner realm once we've come fully into our beingness, and to begin to create at that level a dynamic, charged, energetic of how it is that we are now choosing to experience life, as if it already was with us, even if it isn't yet. Ernest Holmes used to call this telling a spiritual truth, even if it's a factual lie, because we're invoking our power of creation to make things manifested. So we do that twice a day, and as we practice that, what begins to happen are some collateral benefits, because twice a day, if we bring ourselves fully awake and we bring ourselves to the possibilities that are available to us, to the quantum field of all creation available, the collateral benefit is that throughout the day, as the negative self-talk might come in, I don't know, maybe you don't have any, but let's say you do, and you have a thought that's less than positive, the collateral benefit of focusing on all possibility, the quantum field of creation, is you can look at that thought, you can become fully awake to that thought and change it right in the moment. Literally changing thought by saying, well, that's not something I need to believe in anymore, or you actually flip it and say, no, that's not true. What is true is, and you name what the truth might be. These kinds of collateral benefits of being fully awakened in the guest house of being are magnificent spiritual manifestations of our practice. And so I encourage all of us in this time to do a couple of things. The first is, if you haven't really been paying attention to the habit energy that has cropped up for you, maybe you've been missing something so terribly, and you're allowing that to affect your attitude or your mood, that's a great place to focus. I was watching the protesters about not wanting to stay inside anymore, and you can't make us, and all that stuff, and I thought to myself, well, one of the things operating for some of those folks may be that the habit energy has gotten so intense within them that they can't bear the discomfort of not being able to do the life that they had set up as a default. And so they're going out and protesting because the inner habitual energy is like, no, I want to do this now. Well, we may not be like those protesters, but I betcha, if you're like me, there's a push sometimes. The habit is strong, and we want to do what we want to do, and we can't. And it's very uncomfortable. What a great place to practice spiritually. That's what I have as a suggestion. Second of all, if you're a student of mine, you've heard me say this. You know, one of the chief obstacles to people creating a new reality for themselves is that when it comes to making a new choice, they can't think of anything. And I've been in that position more than once, where I can't think of what I would want to experience. But in order for us to move and evolve as spiritual sacred humans, we need to be able to think of the new choices that we would want to have manifesting in our life. I think what stops me is often when someone says make a new choice, I immediately think of something in the outer realm, like a new car or more money or whatever. And actually, at a certain level of expression, it's not about that at all. It's about the inner realm and making a choice to be more of what we want to be. And when I transfer my attention into that inner realm and ask myself, well, how do I want to be more of who I am? Then it becomes easy to make a new choice. For me, one of the consistent habit patterns that I'm seeking to move with is impatience. And so how do I want to be? What's the new choice I want to make? I want to become more and more compassionate and patient. You too have choices like this that you can make. So we're paying attention to discomfort and the habit energy that wants to push us. We're paying attention to new choices that we could make. And then lastly, we're using the opportunity twice a day at a minimum to really come into the present, create in the inner realm that reality, elevate our emotional charge on that, bringing lots of energy to that, and focusing on it long enough so that it can begin to manifest at an outer as well as an inner level. That's the trick, and that's the opportunity we have. That's the good medicine of this time, is what an opportunity, what a lens to look at our own nature, to look at the guest house and make some new choices about how we're living and how we're being. So I'm going to do a prayer for that, and then I'm going to give you a few announcements. So please join me in this knowing. Know with me as I know, for myself and for you, if you would choose this prayer. There is an incredible field of possible realities that exist all at the same time, right here, right now. This field of possibility is an infinite intelligence unfolding its nature through all of us. And I know for you, as I know for myself, that the choice to choose a new way of being and living and experiencing life is always before me, always within me, always available. My mind is activated, allowing me to make choices that are good medicine for my soul and my spirit and my well-being as a sacred human. And as I make these choices, the medicine begins to act in ways that I could not even have imagined for my benefit. And I am deeply grateful for the choices that I'm making and consciously involving myself with, for the law of cause and effect which brings them into being through me, and for my new reality unfolding with magic and beauty and grace. All this I give thanks for, and so it is. All right, just a couple of things. First of all, thank you for your donations. Over the last few weeks as we've been doing this living room series of CSL Bellingham, you have been so generous through PayPal, through the donate button on the CSL website. Thank you so much. It really means a lot, because about 30% of our budget was based on events that now have not been able to happen. So thank you for your donations. I really appreciate it. And here's a couple of things that you might want to know about. We never got to do our annual general meeting. That happened right as the Stay Home, Stay Safe order came down. And it's a legal requirement for our nonprofit status to have an annual meeting like this. So after some thought, we decided that what we would do is turn our PowerPoint slideshow into a PDF that you can see as part of a Zoom meeting that we're going to be holding next Sunday at 11:15. And we would love you to join us for this presentation of the annual general meeting. And this is a special call out to those of you who are members of CSL Bellingham. We need a quorum to be able to vote in the new board members that we have and to affirm the actions of the board for last year financially and all the decisions they made. And so we're hoping that you will join us for this Zoom meeting. The way you do that is you're going to write an email to info@csl-bellingham.org. That's our information email, web email. And you're going to ask for the link, the Zoom link for that annual general meeting. And next week we'll send that link to you. and you'll be able to join us at 11:15 next Sunday. You don't have to be a member. You don't even have to be in Bellingham. If you would like to join us for that meeting, you're surely welcome. It'll be about a half hour long, not very long at all, but enough for us to conduct business and do what we need to do and thank the people we need to thank. So I'd love you to be a part of that. Also, thank you to all of you who have responded to the announcement about Family Promise Cooking. I am in search of 2 more people who would like to cook a meal for our families that have been experiencing homelessness and are now sheltered in place at First Christian Church. We're going to be bringing meals to them that they can reheat in the church kitchen and have for their family. So if you'd like to do that, please email me directly, Andrea Asebedo at att.net, and let me know that you're willing to be one of the cooks. And then in the announcements coming up, if you're not getting our announcements, we send those out through Constant Contact, and you can sign up for those if you would like to by shooting an email over to the center email info at. But coming up, we have a couple of projects that we're inviting people to think about doing while in quarantine. If you want to come out and work by yourself, we have a bunch of projects at the center that need doing. Joe Asebedo just sent out an email to some people to join the mow team. Yes, the grass is growing up there, even though we're all in quarantine. It continues to grow, and it's very healthy, and it grows really fast right now at this time of year. So if you'd like to sign up to be a mower, you can contact the office, and we'll get that message to Joe. We have a bunch of large fallen limbs, and we're looking for someone to chainsaw those up. We have these beautiful wooden arbors that are in need of sanding and revarnishing. And Carol Stegman, God bless her, is starting up the Victory Garden and has created a way for gardeners to practice safe social distancing, but put together some new lasagna beds so that we can grow more food for the food bank, because whether you know it or not, the food bank donations have dropped 70%, and the need for the food bank has increased tenfold because of all the people that have found themselves out of work. So if you'd like to be involved with that, shoot us an email at info@, and we'll send that on to Carol Stegman. All right, I want to remind you that our wonderful Amber Darland is going to be doing some music you can sing and dance along to right after this. So as soon as we're off, she'll come back onto the CSL Facebook page and give you some wonderful music to continue your day with. Blessings to you all. May you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be at peace. Thank you.